Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular council meeting for September 18th, 2019. Before we begin the festivities, I'd like to just one more time run over these guidelines we're trying to work under for our meetings. At the request of the public, town staff, and members of the governing body, in order to expedite business and conduct a more efficient, orderly meeting, the guidelines listed below will be followed at Edgewood Town Council meetings. Guidelines for the public. The public is asked to remain silent throughout the meeting so all attendees can hear what is being said. The public will be heard from only at public comment, which is limited to 2 minutes per individual. If a member of the governing body wishes to hear from a member of the public seated in the audience, the mayor will ask the remainder of the governing body whether they wish to hear from the individual. If there is an objection, a member of the public will not be heard from. The public is encouraged to contact members of the governing body prior to the meeting to express their opinions and concerns, which will enable the governing body to achieve its purposes and expedite business. Cursing, name-calling, and any type of verbal abuse will not be tolerated. If recording devices used by the public are interfering with the quality of the sound of the meeting, those devices will be required to be turned off. And for the governing body, the presiding officer, mayor, or mayor pro tem controls access to the floor. It is out of order to speak unless granted the floor except for point of order or certain privileged motions. For each action item on the agenda, the first utterance from a councilor will be the statement of a motion, enabling the discussion to stay focused on the action to be decided. There is no need to obtain the floor to second the motion. When a motion that is in order has been moved and seconded, the chair formally places the question before the assembly by stating the question, i.e. the chair states the exact motion and indicates that it is open to debate. Traditionally, the person making the motion initiates discussion debate on the matter at hand. Debate discussion must be confined to the question before the body. All debate must be addressed to the presiding officer and not to the members. Debate must be confined to the question before the body. One member should not interrogate another member or person speaking from the public except through the chair. The presiding officer or the body may set reasonable time limits in debate. Time may be extended or limited upon a motion of the body. It is the right of every member who notices a breach of the rules to insist on their enforcement, thereby calling upon the chair for a ruling and enforcement. I had several good comments back from people who liked our efforts to try to speed things along and make the meetings work better. So it's a work in progress and we'll keep working on it. So following that, in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll move to approval of the agenda. Councilors, I don't have any changes tonight, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve this evening's agenda.
I'll second.
Discussion. Mayor, I just wanted to pull wastewater report for a question.
Oh, well, that's when we get to the consent agenda.
Okay.
This is just approval of the agenda.
Okay.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Now, the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve this evening's consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's consent agenda. Councilor Jaramillo, you had a question.
Yes, just wanted to pull out item 2G, wastewater report, for a question.
And I also, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I also had a question. At our seats was a revised copy of minutes from September 4th. Are these the ones we're supposed to approve?
The ones with the highlight marks on them? Yeah, those are the ones. Staff's indicating those are the ones to be approved.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take both as friendly amendments. That item B, as edited and presented at the meeting, is what we are approving, and that item G be held out for discussion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda with the two changes. That town council meeting minutes for September 4th, 2019 are the ones that were set on where we're sitting here with the highlight marks on them. And also the wastewater report for the month of August 2019, item G, be removed for discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Councilor Jaramillo.
Okay. Regarding the wastewater report, I just wanted an update on the notice of violations.
Don't
So
know.
that deadline is coming up in November.
I don't know that there's been any updates on anything. We're moved ahead with the RFP and going to work on that stuff that's going to be worked on. You know of anything, Vaughn? Any updates?
Mayor, Council, we're, like the mayor said, we're working on them, and we hope to have resolution, to the violation, or at least have Groundwater Quality Bureau up to speed with where we're at on each one. I know we've had some of them cleared up, but there are some still outstanding that we're working towards completion.
Councilor Abraham.
Mr. Mayor, could we maybe suggest that we get an update at our next meeting?
Okay.
So let's approve of that.
We can do that.
Mr. Mayor, then I'll move that we approve the August 2019 wastewater department report.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve item G, wastewater report for the month of August 2019. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Council? Let's see. The next item then is discussion items. First one up tonight is hotel PPA update. Scott McCall. Scott, come on up to the podium.
Hi there. I've been asked by Juan, and part of the PPA agreement that we entered into in 2015, September of 2015, was to kind of come in and give you a status report or how things are going, making sure that the clawbacks that are put in place for the PPA agreement are being met for the town, and the thresholds are being met. Part of the PPA agreement, according to what we came up with, is that basically the town giving in-kind services or reduction in tax revenue, there has to be an expenditure offset for those funds. And so, did they get the summary that I emailed you, or?
Mayor, Council, Mr. McCall did provide us one. It, for whatever reason, I apologize, didn't get put in your packet, so I will email that out to you this evening.
Okay. Yeah, we can get you a copy of it, but basically the couple of the hurdles that needed to be addressed, and what I did was I actually took the pieces of the PPA agreement and then addressed the conclusions, and I'm assuming you probably look through them and either agree or disagree with my findings, but I think they're fairly easy to document because it's public record. And but one of the first agreements that we had to do as a developer was to complete the hotel. Otherwise, the PPA agreement was null and voided, and obviously the hotel is there. So we met that first agreement. The second agreement had to do with full-time employment of employees. And we set that a little low just because it would be, if we set it too complicated or made it too complicated, it'd be really hard to verify and figure out. So what we basically said was that within the PPA agreement that we would produce 10 full-time jobs, or what is equivalent to 10 full-time jobs, factoring in a $15,600 wage, which we were setting minimum wage at the time. So that meant that we needed to pay salaries or wages to people within the community of $156,000 a year. Within the information that I provided to Juan, from September 2018 to September 2019, convenient for me to be able to do this because I just had my workers' comp policy renewal. And so I had to break down from housekeepers, front desks. Anyway, our total wages for that entire year was $276,704. So we more than, probably about 40% over what our total needed to be for that. So we more than have met that requirement. Then the other hurdle that needed to be generated is to come up with gross receipt tax, making sure that we were meeting certain criteria. Within the PPA agreement, I believe that was like $35,000 coming back to the state or to the town. Guess I don't have it here in front of me, but and I provided one kind of what we reported in gross receipts tax. I'm sure y'all have seen a huge bump in your gross receipts tax since the hotel's open. Not only with restaurants, and I know the restaurants have really appreciated the hotel, but our gross receipts tax alone has been paid from September 2018 to 2019. We've paid $123,583 in gross receipts tax. So if you figure that Edgewood's share is the 1.5%, might be a little more than that at this point, $46,225 in gross receipts tax just in the sales of the hotel. We also have provided an occupancy tax, which is an ordinance that the town has passed, which is 3% of our gross revenue. We've produced $44,891 in gross receipts tax, in hospitality tax. And that I think y'all probably see pretty much monthly or even in your annual report that there's money in hospitality tax fund, which I was just appointed by the mayor to serve on that committee. 2 months ago, we did 2 meetings. That committee is in a really infant stage of understanding and how to participate and how to use the funds. But I'm bringing 21 years of experience as the chairman of the largest tax for Moriarty, so I think I can probably give some assistance to help utilize that money. And then I don't know what the share is and I'm sure it can be calculated, but I don't know what the share is that the town gets for property taxes. But my annual property tax bill for that hotel, which I almost want to choke every time I see it, is $43,857 a year. So I don't know what the share the Edgewood gets, but it's probably a pretty good little chunk there. So all in all, I think the hotel's been successful. People ask me all the time, how's it going? People can kind of gauge based upon the number of cars, how we're doing. It's a question all the time. I feel like we are hitting the hurdles and we're hitting expectations in sales and occupancy for that hotel. However, I will tell you that it has been a huge drain on the hotel business in Moriarty. It has really impacted negatively Moriarty.
Sure.
Yeah. And, probably the thing that's surprising to me growing up here, and this is kind of deja vu a little bit because I was the first 5th grade class to go to school in this building, so it's a little weird to come here and do this. But the surprising thing for me, and it really kind of impacted me as a surprise, was that people will look and stay in Edgewood that live in the 217 North Mountain Valley Road, Frost Road corridor. They will not go to Moriarty for their funds or for their services. And so that's been kind of a pleasant surprise because you'd think 7 miles wouldn't make that big of a difference to people. But I guess when you factor in the additional 7 miles, it's just easier to go to Albuquerque and find the funds, their services met than it is to drive that extra 7 minutes. And I think also the hotels in Moriarty are getting older, and we just don't meet the supply and the demand that our community sometimes looks for. So one of the things I am very proud of, though, is that Edgewood has been recognized by Choice Hotels, who has over 4,000 hotels in the country, as one of the top 10%. And we are also very proud of the fact that they haven't done it yet, and I'm wondering when they're going to do it. They actually contacted me and wanted to know if they could use the front of the hotel in their national campaign ads, the ones that are shown on ABC, ESPN. So I don't know. You know, they always show the advertisement with the people standing on the suitcases out in the parking lot. So they were pretty pleased with how the exterior looked. I'd say probably the best compliment I can give to the town over the last 2 years is the police department has been fantastic. They've been quickly respond. We have had some crime, we've had some break-ins, we've had some theft, we have had some issues, but the police department has responded great. We actually had our first death in the hotel last night. The lady just didn't wake up, but she was a local citizen actually. Her house had been infested with mold, and she was being placed there. An older lady. I don't know much about it, but so that was an experience. That was a first. I think it has really helped us being the first hotel outside of Albuquerque with all the cars being stolen and the crime that Albuquerque has received. There's a lot of people who are making comments about wanting to stop either just before or get on through Albuquerque to stay the night. So that's helped. I'd say probably the biggest negative, other than probably our tax rate, is the hospitality tax on top of the sales rate tax. So we're charging people nearly 12% of everything that they spend. We're charging tax. That's a pretty good hit. But probably the biggest negative has been the water quality. We are just getting hammered with reviews on the quality of the water. So if you don't want to believe me, you can go on the website. You can just read over and over and over again. I mean, as much as people who think that they're going to get sick from drinking, there's people who don't want to shower in it. So it's gonna really bother the field. And I will say that the water quality has probably cost me an extra $20,000 in operations in the last 2 years, just because of our tankless water heaters are clogging up. Our swimming pool already looks like it's 12 years old, even though it's only 2 years old. So that's been a real challenge, and I've been trying to figure out how to overcome that. But that's it. So I will say that the sign that we added, the lollipop sign, I felt like we had pretty good visibility. The lollipop sign had been approved through the zoning and through the construction of the hotel. We had elected not to spend the additional funds. But Choice Hotels, when they changed their flag, they put out a whole new criteria, and everybody had to have a freestanding sign. And so we had to spend $72,000 on new signs and a lollipop sign out on the interstate. And believe it or not, it could really help. I didn't think Edgewood could really has. One thing I've been sharing with the hospitality tax board, and it's still kind of a challenge, and I think they said this when we were trying to get it approved. I think the other thing that we really need to try to figure out, and I think it's certainly a weakness for this community, is we're a one-trick pony when it comes to an exit. If we don't let people know that we can meet their needs and their services before they pass the exit, we've lost them. We've lost them to Albuquerque, we've lost them to Moriarty. They're not going to get to the top of Cedillo and turn around and come back. And then they'll find their needs met at Moriarty if they get onto Moriarty. So I've been challenging the hospitality tax to, we need to try to figure out how to do some signage, either some gateway signs, some directional signs at the bottom of the exits. I don't think from a private citizen or a business standpoint, we could probably get DOT to allow us to do directional signs, but maybe with the urging of the town, we could do some really classy, good-looking signs. I'm kind of envisioning something like the home developers have around, where it talks about the communities and the developments that who's building in different communities. I just think it'd be helpful if we had some directional signs. Believe it or not, we get a lot of complaints about the fact that they get off the exit and they don't know how to find the hotel. They see it, but they don't know how to get there. police department has supported us very well. Employment's been tough. It's been a struggle. We run about 23 to 25 paychecks a year, and I think that last year I sent out 74 W-2s. So the turnover is pretty strong. The increase in minimum wage is going to be a harmful thing. It's going to hurt businesses. It's going to hurt us. We're going to see increases in services and costs. And right now, we're probably averaging about $105 a night for a hotel room. That's probably going to have to go up just to pay for the minimum wage deal. So I'm happy to entertain any questions or comments.
Nice report you've given. Council have any questions?
I just have a comment. I was over there during the SAS event, and you guys did an amazing job decorating for that. I heard people walking out of there that said how excited they were to see our community embracing SAS. And so I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, we did some really cool decorations. We were sold out 10 days straight in SAS. So that was a real good hit. We also decorated pretty hard for Christmas, which that's the other surprise for Moriarty is that in Moriarty, most occupancy, owning a hotel there for 22 years, I kind of got a pretty good pulse on what's going to happen. And Edgewood has a lot of family that come in for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but you don't see that kind of traffic in Moriarty. Probably the families sleep on the floor or do whatever they can to cut costs, but in Edgewood, they are spending money staying in hotels. So we do see a nice little bump in occupancy on holiday cards where we typically don't.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to thank Mr. McCall for his report. Thank you so much for both the negative and the positive comments. I think you've given us some food for thought, and maybe there's something we can do to help you improve on some of those areas. Thank you.
I do have some comments also. I think it's great that you are being successful with this, and I want to thank you for serving on the board and bringing your experience over here to help this board kind of get moving along and some fresh ideas. I also wanted to thank Councilor Abraham and anyone else actually at the time who was instrumental in really helping you get this started and going and a reality for Edgewood, which is really great. I find it really interesting that you're echoing something that I told the school board for 8 years. And that is that people don't think about the East. They basically come from here to the West. And, a lot of people they see it as 10 or 15 miles in the wrong direction, really. And so, I don't know, that's an interesting thing that you've observed that as well. And so that really does drain enrollment and everything else. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic between the two communities. What else did I want to say? Oh, did you know that we're the 5th safest city in New Mexico? So I thought that would be interesting to kind of put out there on your website or on the counter or wherever so that people know, right? It's a huge difference from Albuquerque.
I've tried to figure out how to put it on a billboard without exposing ideas, but I haven't quite figured that one out yet. But yeah, Albuquerque's got a real bad reputation for go out in the morning and you don't have your car there.
Or your U-Haul or your trailer.
And I don't think, Chief, we've had any cars stolen from the parking lot. We've had 4 or 5 broken into.
We've had a couple of break-ins, but actual thefts, no. We had one family member that took a vehicle, but no unknowns.
And, the other thing that's really awesome is that the police department feels comfortable to park there. The cul-de-sac, they're present, they're visible. Casey even made the comment this morning that within 30 seconds of a phone call being made that we had a lady reporting the death, there was somebody there. And so we did have some people breaking into vending machines. We called. We evacuate the whole hotel, saying that there was an emergency. They went out the back door. The cops were sitting at the front entrance as they were trying to leave, so we caught them in the act. So, if they hadn't been responsive as they have been, we wouldn't have that success. The issue about the stopping, I was surprised by that too. I wouldn't think 7 miles would make a big difference, but it has made a huge difference. People and the choices that they make.
In relation to the high school, especially, like going that far back, I don't know, they just tend to think this way.
One thing I've been pleasantly pleased with is listening to the Carla talk on in the Rogers Tax Board meetings and such. One of the things that's really good that I feel good about and I'm positive about is the owner of the hotel is that we're now entertaining opportunities that wouldn't have come here if there hadn't been lodging as an option.
Right.
Events are willing to come, people are talking, and that's a key element of people wanting to come, stay the night, and do something in the community. So that's been positive. One thing I probably should have mentioned too is I am at the hotel some, but one thing I'm very proud of, and I think Edgewood should be proud of, is that my son, who's 22 years old, who graduated from UNM at Christmas, who is a Moriarty East Mountain graduate, East Mountain High School graduate. He currently is running both hotels, so we've kind of kept some hometown at home. Makes my wife happy more than probably me, but the reality is it's nice that we actually have one of our kids who have chosen to not only make a living here, but has kept his talents here. He was doing a lot of business school, so he could have had pretty much any choice of where he wanted to go. And then New Mexico's really struggling with keeping the hometown talent. I'm proud of the fact that Casey's been able to stay home for that.
And just one last comment on your difficulties with the water. I appreciate you bringing that up to us, and I think that that's an issue that whether it's, the town and EPCOR together or not, it's a very, very expensive treatment plant that needs to occur. And hopefully that can be a public and private relationship to come together to bring public monies. That's my hope, at least, to do something for the long term. But either way, it's going to cost everybody here money, and I think just the cost of that plant is what people are saying is prohibitive, but maybe in the future that could occur.
I'm spending about $1,700-$1,800 a month on water.
Mm-hmm.
Probably we're paying a pretty high rate for water and for free backwater. I've talked to Tom about our issues. He said he sent out he said that EPCOR sent out a questionnaire to see if people would be willing to pay more for water. And I kind of told Tom, I said, the problem is the people you're sending questionnaires to have already spent $2,000 and $3,000 on systems in their home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going to a President Trump rally and asking people how is Trump doing as president. You're going to get an overwhelmingly answer of what you want if you're in favor of Trump. And people are spending $3,000 on their water system. The last thing they want to do is have an increase in their water rate. But the survey should be to the people who are getting ready to hook up to the system. Would you be willing to pay more for your water if you didn't have a $3,000 expenditure in your home to get decent water? And I don't think people are. I think the questionnaire was kind of skewed from the fact that who are you polling?
Yeah, and that thing is free, so it'll be paid for one way or the other. So.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Report. Next item on the agenda then is public comment on general matters. First person up is Louis Abraham.
First, Abraham and Barnhill requested information, public discussion on several topics. A couple of these were the sale or disposition of the old town hall and the current status of the takeover of Edgewood Water. Councilors John Abrams and Linda Holly, of course, voted against these requests, and your mayor voted to break the tie, thereby prohibiting public knowledge and public discussion of these issues. Today, 2 weeks later, the mayor has decided to discuss the sale of the old town hall, but in closed session. What does the mayor have to hide from the people to sell an old building? What else does the mayor have to hide? People refusing to publicly discuss the status of the dirty deal takeover of Epcot? Water, or we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions for the takeover, and the mayor thinks it's none of our business. What about the unapproved destruction of Horton Road? What about the improvement of miles of Mayor Bassett's family property at the public expense? What about the delayed repaving of Horton Road at an original estimate of less than $60,000? Current estimates are near $275,000 to have what was possibly the best road in Edgewood repaved before it was ultimately destroyed. Where did our money go? Where's this money coming from? The mayor and his companies think it's none of our business. Edgewood, you'd better take notice. Come to these meetings and take your town back. The Square H neighborhood is no longer the only incorporated neighborhood with the right to vote. Wake up, Edgewood. Everything that happens at this meeting is our business.
Next person up is Chuck Ring.
May I like to have permission to tax off?
Sure.
Actually, it's not. It's a work of art.
Thank you.
Back in 2004. Give it to the clerk treasurer also. I'll pass it around after Mr. Mayor, council, assistants, staff. I want to say something about Mr. McCall. Not only did he came and made a great business here in Edgewood, he's also demonstrated his desire and ability to help people that are in need. For those of you who don't know, Latitude Christian Church has a benevolence program where we try to help people when they can come in off the road and they come in from their home in a situation similar to what he was talking about with the lady that passed away. Mission called right after the motel opened up, provided a room, probably doesn't want just to get out all the way, but a room for a lady and her dog who were on dire straits. He also provided work for her so that she wouldn't feel that what she was getting was a complete donation. So I think it's great that he did that, and I appreciate it. What you have there, council and Mr. Jordan, is a resolution 2004-07, which for those that might not know means that it's the seventh resolution passed in 2004. It came about, the resolution did, because at that time we had some decisions in the governing body, particularly in the mayor's speech.
Time?
Time?
Yep. Here, 2 minutes.
Can I have 30 seconds?
Council, you want to give Mr. Ring a little more time?
Yes.
If you read this, you'll see that it allows councilors to place items on the agenda. And once placed on the agenda, they cannot be removed except for the permission of the councilor or councilors. So I read it, and I think it's pretty plain. Other people may not read it. You won't let me read it with you sometime, because I took the Evelyn Woodhead speed reading course, as teaching Sean might say. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ring. Is there anybody else who didn't sign up who'd like to speak? Okay, seeing none. We will move along to matters from the councilors. First up, Councilor Jaramillo.
Thank you, former Councilor Ring, for bringing this copy to us. And that was actually going to be one of my requests again, is that we take a look at the resolution and have that on a next agenda. I know Abrams, Holly, and the mayor didn't want to see that last time, but again, I would ask that we be able to at least address this, clarify any language that we need to. But you've heard from Councilor Ring that the intention was this for any governing body member to be able to add something to the agenda. And that's been backed up as well from the attorney for the New Mexico Municipal League in our training, our parliamentary procedures training. And so I just think it's important that we don't deny things on the agenda. Also, and that actually we can address that in calendar review, that and talking about the election as well. Other comments I have, I'm grateful, Mayor, that we have the old town hall stuff on here for the agenda. I do wish we would be able to have that in open session to hear from the public on what they want, but I realize there may be more information to come in closed session that requires it to still be in closed session. So, but thanks for putting it on here because I look forward to the update. I have a story. This kind of relates to the water situation. I think it was about a week ago or so, we were going out to Eastern New Mexico University in Portales for their audit. And we got a call and another call and another text, another call that they were out of water. And so the whole town did not have water. And so we're like, okay, great. I guess the audit team can't leave. And so we waited and we couldn't leave Monday morning to start the audit. And I called the hotel and the lady at the hotel said, yeah, this happens to us 4 or 5 times a year. And I have to shower with a water bottle. And she was saying it makes it so hard on our business. And once we finally were able to get to Eastern, the client was complaining to us pretty much all that day about how their water system they're just having so much trouble with the city, and the employees don't want to work on the weekend, and sometimes they're out of water for 4 days, and how they're just really, really upset. Anyway, that was a very negative experience in relation to government controlling a water system. Next door to them is Clovis, and Clovis does collaborate with EPCOR, and I don't know that there's been any trouble with us. I mean, we've been going down to Clovis for 6 years, never been out of water. So anyway, just wanted to share that story with you all.
Anything else?
That's it.
Councilor Abraham.
Well, I want to say thank you again to Mr. McCall. We worked very diligently with Myra Pancrazio to come up with some ways to get a hotel here. And some of that was a PPA agreement, private-public partnership agreement, which allowed Mr. McCall to get some rebates on some costs that the town couldn't afford to put in. So it was very beneficial for both of us. And I'm happy to see that he's successful. I'm sorry to hear about, I wish you had sold that one in Moriarty to somebody else first. But I want to thank you for providing a great service to our community. It does boost our restaurants, our abilities to host events and all that kind of stuff. So I want to say thank you very much. I also would like for us to, as a council, maybe at some point think about working collaboratively with EPCOR on some kind of public-private partnership. Based on the PER that we received, it said that the town could not afford to improve the water quality with the money that we had. And the cost that they quoted was twice what EPCOR said they could do it for. So I think if we could work together, we could maybe improve water quality without having to own the water system. And so that's just something to throw out there. I'm also very concerned about the election and what we can do since the New Mexico Supreme Court did declare that it was unconstitutional for the attorney generals to be serving beyond their 4-year term. And we in Edgewood, with decisions we made, will be serving beyond our 4-year term. And so I just wanted to see maybe at some point we want to revisit that and see, do we maybe want to go ahead and hold our election based on their decision or something like that. Just something I would like to ask council to put their heads together and maybe come up with some ideas. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Abrams.
I'll yield my time to Councilor Holly.
Councilor Holly.
Okay, the only thing I have this evening, I'll pass out this flyer to each one of you. I was at the First Choice Board meeting last night, and they are announcing their grand opening of their new greenhouse and hoop houses. This is at the First Choice South Valley campus, and C&M's aquaponic and hydroponic display will be there for everyone to view. This is a special invitation to the governing body from Bob DeFelice, the CEO of First Choice. So if you can make it on October 4th, he'd like to see you there, and there is a request to RSVP if you can come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is matters from Clerk Treasurer.
Thank you, Mayor Council. So what I just handed out were some draft ordinances from the City of Rio Communities for some franchise taxes. It's something I know we've talked about many times in the past, about diversifying our revenue streams and trying to find a way not to be as reliant on GRT. I know this would, because of our reliance on GRT, if we impose franchise fees, I don't think that would offset our GRT if we were to take a major hit, but it would definitely bring in additional revenue to the town that is not tied to GRT. So just something for you guys to consider. If you'd like, please let me know and we can, pursue this further. But just something for information right now, if you guys would like to look at it, and if it's something you guys do want to pursue, we can look at it at a later date. The other thing I have with respect to GRT is finally, after about 1.5 years, and thank you to all of you who called Tax and Rev as well, CenturyLink is now finally charging our municipal GRT on the bills. So we will see that increase in GRT revenue. I'm not sure how much it'll be, but at least now they're charging the tax for the municipalities. And that's all I have.
Mayor,
Councilor.
I have a couple of questions 4-1. Mr. Torres. First of all, I was curious about, and I forgot to ask you this question the other day, if you and Mayor were able to resolve things with the bank and hopefully keep that here locally.
Mayor, Council, as of this point, I still have not received a call back from our government liaison.
Mm-hmm.
The local branch was supposed to also inform them to contact us, but they're the ones who are supposed to deal with. The local branch, we just deal with the day in, day out deposits. But we have to go through our, I don't remember the title, but the government liaison for Wells Fargo.
Okay. So even if Mayor was to go to the local place, they probably, of course, refer him to the government liaison, but they might respond a little better to him.
Potentially.
Possibly.
Like I said, I went down and talked to him, so I mean, the mayor could definitely go and maybe if it's the mayor, not just the clerk treasurer asking, maybe they'll return a phone call.
Sure, that would be great, actually. I would assume that they would want to return a phone call instead of losing our business. So, all right. Then, and just so council knows, I met with Mr. Torres earlier this week, and it was very good. Went over a lot of different areas, provided some sample policies and procedures that I know that are in process and working on, but gave him some Word documents from another village that could be a template to start from. And there were a couple of things that came up during that conversation that I just thought would be good for the public to know. First of all, we're on track with the audit. So that's good news. They will be out. When did you tell me they were coming?
Next week.
Next week, yeah. I thought it was soon. And then a community member had actually asked me about backups. And so maybe you could talk just a little bit about what you told me regarding backups of town information.
Mayor, Council, one thing we're looking into is a backup solution for the town. Currently, our backup solution is take snapshots, put them on external hard drives, and hope nothing fails. But if it does, we at least have that backup to restore to. So we're looking at a more robust solution that we can set it to take daily, weekly, monthly, different backups throughout different time frames. So if something were to happen, file was deleted, something that we could go back and get it, or heaven forbid we get hit with a ransomware attack or something like you see in the news with a lot of these smaller municipalities, at least our data will be safe and we won't be starting from scratch. So we're still looking into a couple options. I know we met with a couple vendors via webinar, just kind of looking at their solutions and what they have to offer, and we hope to have something in place shortly.
And then I had asked about the legal expenses for the $14,000, and thank you for giving me the copy of the invoices. I think it was February, March, April. So if any of council is interested in it, I have a copy here. Basically, a lot of personnel, ordinances, things like that went into those invoices. And then one last request I forgot to ask you for was just where we're at on getting a conference phone that will work with all of the sound.
So, Mayor, Council, our IP phones should work with the sounds.
Okay.
I've tested it, and it appears to work, but we haven't tested it live in a council meeting yet. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Go. Next one would be matters from the mayor. A couple things. Prep work has begun on South Horton Road. It will be closed to through traffic for the duration of the job. They were out there today shooting grade and stuff for culvert placement, and Benny assures me that they will begin work out there with the grader and stuff before the week's out. The other thing, again, I'll remind everybody of our 20th anniversary celebration open house. Will be this Friday and Friday evening. The open house is from 4 to 6 here, over at the court, the animal control, and over to the police department, and here in the library. Then the anniversary celebration is from 6 p.m. to dark, followed by a fireworks display. That'll be out front here in the parking lot. Some of our local state senators and House members will be on hand, so hope to have a pretty good little turnout for that. One other issue I will address, Councilor Abraham, for you. I had talked to an attorney on the election issue, and basically the DAs, the thing with them was that's a position created by the New Mexico Constitution, and it set the terms and stuff in there for them. What he told me was our positions here, mayor, council member, stuff like that, is created by statute, and it won't be affected by that ruling. So,
Thank you.
I think that's that on that. That brings us into action items. First issue up is discussion, consideration, action on the appointment of Ben Wiltbank to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Council members, you've got Mr. Wiltbank's letter of interest here. He is currently a alternate on there, and he's looking to move up to a full-time. So I will entertain a motion on that one.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the appointment of Ben Wiltbank to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the appointment of Ben Wiltbank to a full-time membership on the Parks and Recreation Committee. Any discussion?
I just have a question. How many positions do we have open, or do we have any?
That will leave 2 open.
Plus the alternate, or?
I don't think we have an alternate on there now. It went only to 5. So, yeah, just 2.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded to approve the appointment of Ben Wiltbank to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. Do it on a roll call vote. Start here. Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Next item is discussion, consideration, action on issuing an IFB for construction and placement of the pedestrian bridge across Bachelor Draw. And councilors, this is kind of a summary of the thing. We do have the full thing here, the full packet. It's about 1.5 inches thick. But it's basically to take that bridge structure down here. This Councilor Ring has wanted for years and get it set up over Bachelor Draw. And I will entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the issuance of an IFB for the construction and placement of the pedestrian bridge across Bachelor Draw.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve issuing an IFB for construction and placement of the pedestrian bridge across Bachelor Draw. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain or take a vote on it. Roll call start here. Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Councilor Holly?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Next item then is a resolution 2019-21, a resolution authorizing filing of an application for financial assistance from the New Mexico Water Trust Board. I will entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-21, a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for financial assistance from the New Mexico Water Trust Board.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution 2019-21 authorizing filing of an application for financial assistance from the New Mexico Water Trust Board. Discussion?
I have a question. So it's my understanding that Venus Park is the one down there on Section 16, correct?
Right.
So we had previously at one point discussed doing this project under the previous administration, and then is it my recollection? My recollection is that it was deemed too expensive. Do we have any kind of idea what this cost may be that we're looking at?
Mr. Torres, you want to answer on that?
Mayor, Council, no, at this point we do not. That's why we're requesting the funding, and this part is going to be for design and planning to get it over there.
Okay. So will we be able to borrow the full amount needed?
Mayor, Council, that's why it's through the Water Trust Board. So their funding is a grant to the town.
Okay. So it'll cost us nothing?
I believe so.
There's a match.
Okay.
It's probably 5%.
A 5% match.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, we can take a vote on it. Start there, Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Aye.
Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Next item is closed session. As promotion and roll call vote pursuant to NMSA 1978 H8, the following will be discussed in closed session: purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property, specifically the property at 1911 Old Highway 66, Edgewood, New Mexico. I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant of NMSA 1978 H8 to discuss purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to go into closed session pursuant to NMSA 1978 H8. Following will be discussed in closed session: purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property, specifically property at 1911 Old Highway 66, Edgewood, New Mexico. Start here, Councilor Holly.
Aye.
Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Councilor Abraham.
Nay, I think this should be discussed in a public meeting.
And Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
We're in closed session. We'll come back into open session. I'll entertain a motion to return to open session.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to return to open session in closed session pursuant to NMSA 1978 H8 only. The purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property was discussed, specifically the property at 1911 Old Highway 66.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to return into open session. Do a roll call vote. Councilor Holly.
Aye.
Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to swear and affirm that only those items on the agenda were discussed. No decisions were made.
Councilor Holly.
I so affirm.
Councilor Abraham.
I so affirm.
Councilor Jaramillo.
I affirm.
For Mayor, I so affirm also. Next item then is an action item authorizing Mayor Bassett to sell or lease property at 1911 Old Highway 66, Edgewood, New Mexico. I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mayor.
Oh. Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we list the property with a qualified commercial broker and give you the authority to sign that listing agreement, and then address the seller lease once we have offers that are negotiated.
Got a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize Mayor Bassett to sell or lease the property at 1911 Old Highway 66.
Mayor. She said something different in her motion.
I said to list, to sign the listing agreement.
Same basic thing.
No, it's different. A listing is to put it on the market. To sell or lease it is actual. You need the consent of the governing body to have a vote to be able to do that.
Right. Well, let's sell or lease it. I mean, that's what we're going to be doing, is trying to list it.
The term would be to list the property for sale or lease.
We got a second?
Yes, I did.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve listing the property at 1911 Old Highway 66 for sale or lease. And we'll do a roll call vote on that. Start down there, Councilor Jaramillo.
Just discussion, before we, okay. Let me think this through here. So just to kind of clarify, I'm just trying to separate this in my mind because of our training that we just had and everything. I just want for the record to state that it's my belief that our closed session was in compliance with the Open Meetings Act because it specifically caught us up on a previous situation that was appropriate for the closed session. And I do believe that now during discussion is a good time for council to address any different ideas or, comments or things that we want to see happen with it. And so I just wanted to mention that. I mean, I know typically with the sale or lease of property, sometimes in the future, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's destruction of a building. Maybe it's, repurposing the building. And I do know that someone had brought up repurposing the old town hall. So when you guys have your turns in discussion, I would like to hear your thoughts on that. I'm in agreement. I made the motion, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with the motion, right? But I did want to say that I agree with listing and, kind of seeing the market value and what's out there.
Anybody else?
Well, my part of the discussion of this would be that the town hall has there's a sign that's falling down and some stuff like that. I think that we should do what we can to make it look as presentable and advertise it as, make sure we're hiring a quality commercial realtor that understands being able to market it to the whole state or to the whole U.S. There's a limited amount of commercial buildings in Edgewood that are available, and apparently, according to Mr. McCall, Edgewood is preferable to the commercial space that may be available in some of the other communities. So I do feel like we have a very valuable property, but, I was the one that said maybe we could turn it into, if we can't get the buyer for the right price that we need, maybe look at creating it into a community center or a youth center or something like that. So I agree it needs to be listed. I think we need to interview, really competent, big name commercial realtors and get it out there, advertised as much as possible. So that's my thought.
Anybody else have anything? So I called for the vote then. Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
Councilor Abrams?
Aye.
Councilor Hawley?
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Next item is calendar review. As I said earlier, the Town of Edgewood open house at various locations will be Friday night from 4 to 6, and the town celebration takes up at 6 and goes to about 8. Wolfstock is coming up on the 21st. That's Saturday. And then the next regular council meeting will be October 2nd, 2019, 6:30 p.m.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask council if they would be interested in us putting something to get an update on the notice of violation from the wastewater plant.
Yes.
In the near future.
We'll get that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. So the other counselors are okay? Okay. And then also we had, the ordinance or the resolution on adding agenda items. Can we bring that on an agenda for discussion?
So, Counselor, when Randy Van Vleck was here, he said everybody ought to be entitled to one. I think your go-around was the last time, wasn't it?
This was never brought forward, was it?
Brought it forward to put it on an agenda last time, and I seen 2 hands go up for it and nobody else. I think that's sufficient that you've asked and it was decided not to put it on there, and I don't like the idea of it coming back up at me every meeting we have.
The reason, Mayor, is because Councilor Ring explained that it's one council member, and he was involved in the writing and passing of it.
Understood.
So with that new information, just wanted to ask council if they would be willing to take a look at the language and allow a governing body member to place something on the agenda.
I'm okay with that.
I think a consensus is necessary for things to come from the board. Other than that, they need to come up through the other process, which is a review from the administration and through the mayor. I've seen too many things happen where things have come to the council frivolously, and I don't really think that that's in the interest of the public's business. But if you want to press it, we can certainly have a discussion.
Councilor Hawley, you have anything to add to that?
I thought we were already operating under the terms of this resolution. I think I am willing to, since this was handed out today, take it home with me and take another look at it.
Question is, do we want something on another agenda?
Well, for me, Mr. Mayor, I would like maybe the opportunity for Councilor Ring to be up and talk about this. He didn't really get the chance because he spent his 2 minutes talking about something else. I would like maybe him to be on the agenda to help clarify what the intent was and how are we not seeing it the way that he thinks it was intended to be seen. I guess that's what I would like to hear.
You do have an opportunity to talk to Councilor Ring on your own, correct?
I do.
So, again, I ask of council, do you all want to see an agenda item on another coming up agenda to discuss this thing?
Yes.
I would.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see what the edits are before it becomes a resolution in front of the council. If it's a discussion item, then a discussion can be had, but if it's an action item, I want to see it. I want to see the verbiage before we even entertain it.
Right.
As we do with all other resolutions.
Mr. Mayor?
So I would suggest to the councilors to my right that they take the resolution, review it, and write something and bring that to the council.
Mayor.
Hand it out like Juan did on these things, on the franchise fees.
And we can take up, there will be something to discuss. Right now we have a resolution that we're operating under. I don't see where there are changes. If there are changes necessary, I'd certainly like to see the verbiage. And I would suggest that the councilors take the time to rewrite or add to the current resolution and bring it back as a discussion item. I'll be more than happy to entertain a discussion at that time.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
It seems like in the past we asked our attorney for some clarification on this, and I don't remember him coming forth with that clarification. So I guess I am okay with outside this meeting discussing with former Councilor Ring what their intent was and what we're doing differently, and bring some changes forth to discuss at a future council meeting.
Well, and that's why I say, you see how Juan brought them in here? Bring it in, and then we can decide if we want to take it up.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
just in response to Councilor Abrams' concern about taking the time to look at this and write up some language, I've done that, and I provided that to you last year. I marked up what I thought the clarifying language would be. I discussed it with Councilor Green only at that time, and showed it to you. So I know it hasn't made it on the agenda so far, but if you do have that copy, that would be great, that we could take a look at that. And as far as getting it on a future agenda, it needs to be action. We can always discuss when there's a motion made, but there's no sense in putting it on the agenda if it's discussion only, because then you can't take action.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.